Evening, everybody. Welcome to Monday night. Yep, this is not our normal time, but hey, we're gonna do it Monday night because I was too busy yesterday. James was busy yesterday, and in fact, James is busy today. I'm sure Shane has something to say to James because James is not going to be joining us tonight. He apparently has just a lot of schoolwork. Understandably, he's got a bunch of exams or something tomorrow, so we'll give him another mulligan. So instead, we're going to have Adam Lucio join us as the co-host today. You may notice Adam's a little blue today, and you'll see. He'll explain why later,
It's very metaphoric, I suppose.
and a little bit literal too, because half of his face is kind of. So, all right. Well, let's meet our guests. A couple of new guys we've had here. Jesse Risley joins us tonight. Good evening, Jesse.
Good evening, Marcus.
Good to have you on tonight.
Thank you, sir. Glad to join you.
Hey, pleasure's on our side. Mike Tobin from Lawton, Oklahoma. Mike, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing nice one, Marcus. Thank you for having me on. Glad to be here.
Definitely. All right, guys, let's jump into it. We got a couple of hot button topics this week. We told the chasers to not give us a reason to talk to you individually. Great job. We have nothing to say to any individuals, but we do have the entire community somewhat under fire this week, especially after last week. So just to kind of recap on what we're going to talk about tonight, we're definitely going to be talking about all the different chase setups we had over this past week. Of course, Wednesday, April 8th, was a Southern Plains Day that a lot of people believe didn't work out very well. April 9th was a pretty sizable day, Illinois. Jesse's going to really talk to us about the setup and what happened and everything like that. And then we also had a couple of very marginal days on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, which, I guess Ben Holcomb, who just joined, there's Ben. He and I will probably be the only ones really talking about this weekend since I think he was the only other guy out there that on Saturday, and then, of course, I was chasing Sunday. But, real quick, before we actually start on the topics, we will be doing the Q&A again. Right here on your screen should be a little thing. If you have Google Plus, this doesn't work if you don't have Google Plus and are probably not logged in, but there should be a thing that says be part of the conversation, and that's your chance to jump on the Q&A, ask us questions during the show, and during the show we will try to answer them. And, that's the ghost train right there, baby. Man, that's great timing. I don't know who was that from, but that's the start of the show right there. Cool. Well, great timing there. All right, so first topic, and I'm just going to kind of throw this topic out to you guys, a.k.a. the Wolves, and I really want you guys to get into it because there's a couple of different sides of this. This is the same topic we've talked about in several years. I've heard this topic, I think, maybe 3 or 4 times since I started chasing. And this is the law enforcement officers of Kansas versus the chasers. This seems to happen a lot. It really got big in 2012 after the high risk on April 14th, where homes were damaged, the roads were muddy, chasers were stuck on the muddy roads, and emergency personnel couldn't get around them to get to the damaged homes. So very understandable situation, very unfortunate situation. But what it did do is pretty much let the law enforcement drink some of that bitter water that apparently we leave behind in Kansas. So that was a big thing back in 2012. But April 8th, we had storms in southern Kansas, Barber County, Kansas to be exact, and to be even more exact, near Medicine Lodge. And if any of you chasers have ever chased the area, you'll know that there's 0 road options. There's a few here and there, but oh my God, that is the worst county in Kansas to chase in, bar none. That is like the Osage County of Kansas right there. That is the Cherry County of Kansas, is Barber County. And, you got one main east-west road. There's really not much north-south options, so leaves you with one highway. Well, the word on the street is volunteer fire department were running down that highway, sirens blaring, lights going, crawling at 30 miles an hour, no immediate emergency to go to, and yet they've come out and said that chasers are blocking the road and we couldn't get around them, and none of them were abiding by our rules and adhering to our sirens. And it was a big deal. Came out on local news in Wichita, and of course, it reached the chaser community rather quickly. So, Ben, I believe you're the first one to really bring up that post in Storm Track. Um, so, if you have anything else to add to that situation that I missed out, feel free to tell us about it.
No, I don't at this point. So
Okay.
can you guys can hear me all right, I assume?
Yep.
Oh yeah,
All
we
right.
heard you crunching down on some food over there.
Yeah, I hear you eating.
Well, you know, I just got home from work, so.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we excuse you for that. That's fine. So what do you guys think about this? I mean, we've heard this before. It's a touchy subject because it really angers the chaser community, but then at the same time, it's angering the law enforcement community. So you got these angry groups of people just going frictioning against each other, just kind of throwing these ideas out here and out there. But I mean, who's right? Who's wrong? How do we fix this? How do we prevent this? It's kind of the obvious questions to ask here. Anybody, go ahead and start this off here.
Well, here's my thought on it. I mean, automatically, if they're outside on the road and they're looking at the weather, they're automatically part of the storm chasing community. We don't know that. I mean, granted, it could have been just some bozo that lived in the area thought he could go get himself a good picture. I mean, that's the issue that we're having because the chasing community as a whole is a very close-knit group. I mean, granted, we don't know everybody, but generally you've heard of somebody. If you talk to somebody who's heard of somebody. And without them saying whoever it was on the local news or saying it, you know, for example, nothing against you, Marcus, saying Marcus Diaz, known chaser, was busted going excessive speeding after the storm blocking traffic. No, that's not the case. Automatically we get grouped together as a chasing community when it could be just some guy from the area that doesn't chase on a regular basis, just happen to get lucky that's blocking traffic. Granted, with that storm being what it was, there's a lot of people on the road. I think as a community in a whole, we should work together to try to be able to, you know, take care of each other and explain, you know, and if they're doing something wrong, call them out on it. That's my belief. We need to be self-contained and self-controlling because we generally know everybody within the community that does it or takes pictures or does video on a more rapid basis instead of the one guy that goes out one Sunday and gets a picture saying, "Hey, I'm a chaser, woohoo!" You know, that's just my thought.
Well, here's the issue though. Is so far we haven't heard anything on specific people. We haven't heard somebody say, "Hey, I was the one getting yelled at here." I mean, I think there was one or two vehicles that were somewhat targeted because they were not all the way off the highway. But if you know Highway 160 in Kansas out there by Medicine Lodge, it's two lane. There's about 6 inches of shoulder. Then you have grass and like 6-foot ditches on either side. So there's like no way to really fully pull off unless, you know, there's some areas that are easy to pull off. But, you know, I think if I remember right, the TIV got ticketed or got pulled over at least out there. And, you know, but they're driving this big vehicle. It takes up an entire lane. Of course, there's no way they can pull off or just park somewhere because it's just a really massive vehicle. And, of course, it's a high target for these. It's an easy target for the law enforcement. But, Jesse, do you have anything to add to this?
Well, I wasn't there on that one, of course, but I see both sides of it. I think in practicality, obviously I'm a little more biased towards the chaser side of it, and I've been on the receiving end of some acerbic behavior by law enforcement in Kansas, even back in 07 and 08, when they used to shut down, seen it many times where they've shut down whole roads and just stopped our chase. With that having been said, you are dealing with rural roads in areas that were not built to handle this type of volume of traffic. So I understand from the public safety standpoint that even leaving out the people that might be locals, you know, out gawking, when all of us chasers are in that small of an area on those roads, it is going to make it harder and probably more stressful for public safety to get where they need to be. And even if everybody's following proper traffic protocol and driving sensibly, there's no way around it causing bottlenecks. Now, that having been said, Marcus, to answer your question, I think there's a couple things that we can be cognizant of as individual chasers. Pull all the way off the road if you're going to stop. Get your vehicle all the way off the road, be sensible, and drive somewhat, you know, sensible when there's that many people around. You don't need to be going 80 miles an hour, and you can try to drive just a little more practical for the area. And I think of that stuff goes a long way to doing the best we could do to alleviate some of these problems, if that makes sense. Making the best out of the situation we can so public safety can get where they need to be.
Ben, you got a nice shit-eating grin over there.
me and Adam looked at each other when he said don't go 80, and we both laughed. So
Look, okay, I mean it's one thing when you're driving to a storm,
Right.
and there's no like heavy traffic around, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
If it's a 2-lane road, you know, you can jump that little 5 miles an hour or whatever just to kind of get a little edge, whatever you need to do. I'm not advocating go speed or whatever, but yeah, I understand. If you're on some, you know, farm to market road, it's 2-lane, there's no shoulder, there's no need to be driving like a maniac or, you know, trying to really get out there. But and especially if the traffic's real thick, which I don't know the situation that happened in Barber County. I don't know if it was actually congested with chasers. The video I saw of that day, it doesn't appear that there was like bumper to bumper traffic for miles. Stuff, you know, it wasn't that case of like May 19th of what was that, 2010 near Hennessy, Oklahoma, where it was just miles and miles of chasers, you know, or April 14th. That was another big day where there was just miles of chasers on one road. It really seemed like a thinned out, and especially because the way that the way that day went down, a lot of the chasers that were about to go clog up and double Medicine Lodge population actually bailed on that storm early, and not to bring up hard feelings at them, but they bailed on that early and drove south on the dry line on another storm. So basically, it was really amusing to me, and I hate to say it like that, but it was amusing to me that you know, we're on the supercell down south, and then there's a storm up north, and the convergence of chasers was right in between the two storms. Like I was like, there's no way that's possible. Like there's really that many people flocking this way. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that could have been 10 times worse because it almost looked like all the chasers that were out in I-35 were heading that way towards that storm, and that really could have been, you know, then I think the law enforcement could have had something to put their foot down on, that there were, you know, 600 plus chasers out there, because that would have been the case if not everyone had bailed out on that storm.
well, I would. God damn it! I would like to. I would like to say though, I really wish one of these law enforcement officials would try to arrest me or tell me I can't be there because you know, while I don't know what the heck that is, but while you know, I wouldn't disobey his order at the time, I definitely would be contacting a lawyer pretty much right afterwards.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking too. I was like, you know, if I ever got pulled over, arrested, I would be like, yep, take me to jail, officer, because this is going to be an awesome story. I'm going to make a hell of a show off of this crap. So, yeah, I mean, there's such a gray area. I mean, the gray area is huge in terms of what we're talking about here for the law to even put a foot down on. I mean, there's special situations. You know, if you want to go back to April 14th of 2012, where you had those cars stuck on the road and there's houses damaged, you know what? I can see there being some sort of legal issue there because you are interfering because of your I wouldn't say stupidity, but your misfortune that the road just washed out. You know, then I could see, you know, you need to bring a lawyer in on this because this is going to be, you know, an actual fight. But yeah, I understand if anybody got arrested on April 8th. I guarantee they would have lawyers, you know, wanting to come to them because they love that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Adam,
and
go ahead, buddy.
this always seems to pop up in Kansas, which tells me one thing, that the Kansas Highway Patrol, county sheriffs, they don't like chasers, and their media plays on it too. And as always, the media has to get involved. I see more of these articles coming out of Kansas than any other state. And we all know Kansas isn't the only state that gets chaser convergence. Oklahoma is worse, and I never see this type of thing happening with Oklahoma or even Nebraska. Now, that being said, Jesse hit on a good point. If you're driving like a douche nozzle and not pulling your car all the way off the road, then, you know, chasers have some accountability in this because we do congest the roads and we do have to follow rules when we're pulling over. And there's been times where I'm cresting a hill and there's somebody stopped in the middle of the road. I have to lock up my brakes and I go sliding sideways to avoid them. So that's another heated debate. Whenever somebody gets in my way that way, there are words exchanged because, you know, if you're going to be out there, do what you're supposed to do, pull over, and follow at least those basic courtesy rules when you're out there chasing. Now, the video that I saw from Kansas of the officer driving around on his little loudspeaker or whatever, threatening to arrest people, I saw like 2 cars in the whole video. So I don't even understand what that's all about. There were 2 cars in the video, and he's just driving around yelling at people that he's going to arrest them. So, my opinion, that guy's acting like a self-entitled douche. So, of course, I don't know the whole story because I was one of those idiots who left those storms to bail south on the dryline storm. So I wasn't there, and I don't know everything that happened firsthand. But from what I have seen, this is clearly a case of abuse of power and just they already having angst towards chasers. So already the guy's thinking in his head, oh, here we go. Here's these damn storm chasers again. You know, let's try to get them out of here. And those tornadoes didn't do any damage really that I heard of. There was no emergency for them to be, at least that I know of. There weren't any homes destroyed. There weren't towns flattened. There weren't any injuries or serious situations that I heard about. So there was nowhere for the emergency vehicles to be other than just spotting, which they don't do right anyways because they misidentify features. That's the reason the term Sheriff NATO exists. So
yep. Sheriff NATO, that's a term coined by storm chasers where you have your law enforcement out there spotting. They see a scud cloud scraping on the cold side of the storm, and they'll call it a tornado every time.
Hey, Marcus.
Yes, Mike.
There's a question on the toolbar from Blues Jazz 123, and it says, could it be time for the chasing community to discourage one person per vehicle but chase in teams, i.e. reduce number of vehicles? I know what most of you want, but
no,
for it end.
No, because I like chasing with that. I mean, I don't mind chasing with big groups of people, but I also like chasing by myself sometimes. And you can't completely just tell someone, hey, you shouldn't chase by yourself. You should actually chase with a whole bunch of people because that'll make things safer for everybody. No, it's not like that. What'll make things safer for everybody is people need to just abide by the laws, especially when there's a huge crowd. Don't get in a rush. Don't put here's probably the biggest thing you can do. Don't put yourself in a position where a chaser convergence is going to possibly kill you. You know, don't be hanging around, right in the inflow notch when you have 2-mile line of cars trying to get south, and you're just sitting there and you're waiting, you're like, oh, that thing's getting closer. I should probably move. And you're sitting there waiting for more to get a gap in the traffic. Don't put yourself in that position, and you shouldn't have that sort of issue. But any of you guys want to expand on that? Yeah.
I would say that making us caravan would probably be more dangerous, at least for me, because if for some reason I missed a tornado because of somebody in my car, I would become very homicidal.
That's right. I would be.
Couldn't agree more.
Having some next.
I couldn't agree more. I don't think the chaser community is ever going to advocate piling all in one vehicle. There's a lot of chasers that like to chase solo. I like to chase solo sometimes, or at most with 1 or 2 people. It gets too chaotic when you have too many bodies in the car. Everybody, I want to pull over and get a picture shot of this overshooting top when the storm is 30 miles away. I'm driving like, this thing's going to produce a tornado, and then they're getting mad at me. They missed their arc shots, and I want to get to the tornado. Can't do it.
Okay, I feel like that's probably something that happened to you guys.
More than once.
Oh man, that's bad. Yeah, I mean, Jesse, you probably agree that that's probably a bad thing to encourage.
I mean,
yeah, and there's no practical way to, even try to get anybody to abide by that, assuming that you were to grant the person that that was a reasonable suggestion, and I don't know that it is. But yeah, how are you going to get everybody to do that? It's not going to happen.
Yeah, there's no way that you're going to be able to enforce that on the chaser community. So it's kind of it's like you're basically just shouting. If you're going to say that, you're basically telling it to a brick wall because I guarantee you nobody's listening. One real quick point, that I saw in here. Let's see if I found it. Yes, same guy, Blue Jazz. I think that's Derek. If I remember right, I might be wrong, but
it is.
Okay, that is Derek. He says perhaps Oklahoma understands the economic benefits of having a zillion chasers eating in their restaurants and staying in their hotels. That's actually a very good point. I think Oklahoma's just like, hey, if our town doubles in population today, we're gonna make a lot of money off of these guys because they're not gonna go, they're not gonna be picky about where they eat or whatever. I guarantee if any town on a dry line in May in Kansas or Oklahoma, if any town has a Subway, that manager should be like ecstatic because they're about to just make the biggest day ever right then and there. Like some little dick-ass town in the middle of Kansas, and all they have is a Subway, and they're the target. They're about to make a lot of money. I'd be pretty happy about that. So
you're acting like chasers eat. Sorry.
Go ahead, Jesse.
I was just going to point out, I do know over the years there have been problems in different parts of Oklahoma and Texas. There have been stories that have popped up on Storm Track. But Adam's right that Kansas seems to have the market on overall more of an issue with this. But that's not to say it hasn't happened elsewhere.
Yeah, I've had an incident in Independence, Kansas, where we were actually ran out of town by a sheriff. While we're eating breakfast. It was me, Steve Pauly, and Brandon Sullivan back in 2009, and we stayed the night there, and then the next day some sheriff came up and walked up to our breakfast table and sat down. Didn't know the guy, didn't have a uniform on. It was just some guy, old guy with a cowboy hat and like jacket, and I think he had a little badge on him, but that's it. And he goes, "Are you guys driving these vehicles over here?" And we're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, we got reports that you were running some of our officers off the road," and we're like, "What?" I don't understand. And basically, he said we had to get out of town pretty soon, so we had to book it out of Independence, Kansas. So, Independence, Kansas, you're on my list. And Barber County, Kansas. So.
Well, hey, Mark. For example, I didn't chase up in Kansas. I don't know exactly what their fort is. It's been a long time since I've ever been up there, so I don't know what they've been doing. All I've been doing is reading about it. But like what we said before, for example, Oklahoma on March 25th, there was traffic everywhere, and it wasn't chasers, it was people not knowing where to go and what to do. They were blocking up the roads for emergency vehicles. It can happen anywhere with anybody. It just doesn't have to be the chasing community.
Yeah, I don't see OHP issuing citations on El Reno Day. Talk about a traffic jam. Why didn't they just start going after those guys? We can't pin it down on certain people.
We can't.
I want to show you guys this picture. I believe Todd Rector posted this picture on that thread. And this was a picture, I guess he said, where he was pulled over all the way off the road, as you see here, off the yellow line. And behind him was a volunteer fire department parked partially on the road and actually left the door open over the highway and got out of the truck. And I believe I also just got word, too, about what happened. This is actually from Kendra. He told me that the chasers that this happened to were following all traffic laws, and the volunteer fire department got out of their truck and went after the chasers. The volunteer fire department were purposely driving slow, impeding traffic and chasers with their sirens and lights going nowhere. At least that's the report that happened out there. So I don't know what happened, and I'm sure there's probably video out there, and I just haven't looked. But looking at this picture right here, you know, the area of interest on the storm is just to the left side of the screen. It's kind of poorly contrasted. But you can see that storm doesn't look like it's about to do anything mean. And, you know, that day wasn't – it was a high day. It was a high-risk day. Well, it was a moderate risk. And it had potential to be a big day. But this storm definitely didn't show, you know, major signs of it, you know, being a big long track producing supercells. So, yeah, I mean, basically it was just a case where the law enforcement were up on their high horse and they were really trying to push chasers and they're trying to push their buttons, and it turns out that there's a lot of proof that they were just being douchebags and kind of abusing their power on this day. So,
and that's a shame too, because I think we should work with law enforcement officers, and I personally have had nothing but good encounters with law enforcement officers when I'm out there chasing. Most of the time they come up and they want to see the radar, get my opinion on what they think is going on. So I've had a lot of good experiences too. Fortunately, I've never been around when one of these high-horsing officers is on his power trip, but yeah, I can't imagine I would perceive it very well.
I have dealt with Kansas Highway Patrol before. It was back the Parkersburg, Iowa day. We were chasing Kansas that day, and we had a nasty encounter with one of the KHP officers. So I've seen it firsthand.
Was that in Rush County?
Yep.
Yeah, we got pulled over that day too. Yeah, I think everybody did. One of my old coworkers got pulled over same day, same location.
Yep.
So they must have handed out a bunch of tickets that day.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, speaking of Rush County, that's interesting you mentioned that because you guys remember May 25th, 2012, those tornadoes out there in La Crosse and that area.
Mm-hmm.
You had KHP that were actually blocking the highway from people to drive because there's a tornado coming. But I think if I remember right, the tornado was still a good 2-3 miles up the road, but they were blocking the traffic. And some of the chasers, well, obviously the chasers that were at the front of that blockade didn't have a choice, but there was some chasers in the back that were actually going around the blockade towards the tornado. And if I remember right, that cop was throwing a shit fit. Like, he was super angry at the time because, you know, no one cared. No one basically abided by the law, and they just kept going. And that brought up a big issue. That was the second major incident we had with, law enforcement in Kansas in 2012. So, after that incident, things really heated up, but then people just kind of forgot about it, and it settled back down, and then now it's kind of coming back up again.
You know what, Marcus? It's going to bite them in the butt in the long run because eventually, if they make it that difficult for chasers to go up and chase or do whatever they do, they're not going to want to go up there. People are just going to say, you know what, it's not worth it. We're going to avoid it. And then who's going to be out there warning? Who's going to be calling it in? The cops? I don't think so. They don't know what they're looking at exactly. You may get one or two that may have an idea, but they're not going to do it. They're just going to be like, well, the town got ravaged. Nobody called in reports because there's no chasers going to be there. That's what it becomes.
Yeah, eventually what's going to end up happening is Barber County Sheriff's Office are going to be blaring their sirens to get off the road at the volunteer fire department because that's all that's going to be there chasing, Barber County now. It's just their own people.
I'll still chase. And by the way, I guess it wasn't Rush County, it was Trego County.
Okay.
But it's still, they're right next to each other.
Pretty much.
Bison across that area.
Yeah, pretty much. La Crosse, Hayes, that area.
Yeah, south of Wakini is where we got pulled over on 283.
Yeah, so...
I had an encounter with one of their volunteer.
Adam, you're black. Your screen is black on my end, just so you know.
I went black. I'm having a little bit of a lag issue, it seems. I think the Wi-Fi I'm on might be slow.
We got you back
Can
now.
you see me now?
Yes, I blame Dev.
I think I'm having some... I have some slow Wi-Fi issues or something, but I remember, down there on 160 in Kansas, I was chasing with Skip back in 2009, and we were pulled off on that canyon country crag of a highway, and one of their local volunteer firefighters came up and saw us, and that guy was drunk off his ass. Like, he comes stumbling out of his white vehicle, and if Skip were here, he'll remember this story. The guy's like, "What are y'all looking at? Like, there's a storm, and a tornado this morning just went off. I had to get in my truck and drive out here." And he's asking us, I was like, "And these are who they got, like, spotting for their county?" Like, we wrote about it in our chase log, too. I can even probably go back and pull it up. I think it was June maybe 14th or 15th, 2009. It's hilarious. So, hey, if that's who they want spotting for their county, good for them. I'm all for it.
John Williamson just posted something, and I'm sorry I accidentally opened it and closed it, but he basically asked, are you actually going to pass up a moderate or high risk in that part of Kansas? I mean, come on. And the reality is, you know what?
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Exactly. That's the thing. I say there's actually, I know there was some people saying, well, we'll just avoid that county altogether. The thing
is, they won't.
You will not avoid it if there's something coming through there.
I'd like to see you try.
Yeah. Yeah. If there's a wedge heading towards Medicine Lodge, you guarantee that there's going to be 600 chasers just to the south of it, ready to go in there. So, yeah. Well, there's a lot of talk on that, and that's definitely a big issue. And one quick question, Tyler Hudson, we'll go ahead and select yours here. He basically says, what exactly do law enforcement expect us to do? And it's simple. They want us to not chase in Kansas anymore. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what they want. You know and like we've been saying, it just seems like it's just Kansas. It's not Oklahoma, it's not Texas or Nebraska or any other state that I've ever, chased in. I'm sure you guys have never really had issues outside unless you were actually speeding and got pulled over. But yeah, Ben, and yeah, it's just Kansas, and I don't know. There's something there that they just don't like chasers at all, and that's just the plain and simple. They don't like us. They don't want us there. They'd rather us not be there. And I understand. And the biggest load of shit that I heard from that video clip from the report from the news station, I don't forget what damn news station it was from Wichita, was that guy was, yeah, he was all like, we're just doing this because we want to make sure everybody's safe out there. I'm like, come on. That is not the reason. That's just your bullshit reason to give the media and to give all the people out there. But I mean, you're making it worse being out there and trying to force us to do things and force us off the road, because what you're doing in the process is you're in the middle of the road with your stupid loudspeaker and your stupid badge and your angry hillbilly voice and just telling people to get off the road when you are on the road yourself. And yeah, it's a bad deal all around, but it's not going to go away. That's plain and simple. I mean, there's nothing we can do. You can just chase in Kansas and just hopefully you're completely off the road. Hopefully you're not blocking the road. Hopefully you're not speeding, because if you are, then freaking Super Trooper is going to pull you over and just completely screw your day up. He's going to make your day living hell. And I'm not saying that's every law enforcement officer in Kansas, but it seems like the chances are it's going to be, and especially if you're southern Kansas area or anywhere in that vicinity. So, anything else you guys want to add to this topic before we move on?
Yeah, I'll just say one more thing. You said hopefully you're pulled off the road. From the chaser end, it shouldn't be hopefully. Pull your ass over all the way off the road. Mm-hmm. If your car can't handle going off the road, stay the hell home and go to the grocery store where it belongs. I mean, it's that simple. Seriously. Chasers have a responsibility in this too, to pull over on the side of the road, to not block intersections. In an emergency situation, quit filming your damage shots and get out of the way. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So I don't fault the law enforcement officers 100% for this, but I believe in the case of Kansas, they are sort of taking it a little bit too far.
Yeah, and Vern Carlson, quick point that he mentioned on this subject is they're going to eventually going to ticket us with the state distracted driving laws. He said that's how law enforcement officers eventually are going to ticket us to death with that. So, I mean,
I find their blue lights to be quite distracting too.
Well,
so
it's not only that, but the other leg up law enforcement has is if they don't do that, they just start finding every little thing they can find to ticket you for. Even if you're going 3-4 miles over the speed limit.
That's true.
And the thing is if they're going to start doing state, distraction driving laws, then they're going to start pulling over everybody that has a laptop sitting right next to them while they're driving. And that's what they're going to try to get us on is, hey, you're distracted because that laptop's open, even though you got someone sitting passenger who they're the one that's doing all the navigation, doing all the radar looking and whatnot. And if you're just sitting there concentrated driving, you're going to get the ticket because you were distracted. So there's a lot of reasons they're going to screw us, or they're going to try to screw us. And I don't think this topic is ever going to go away. I think we're going to have two sides of this every time, and we're going to all butt heads every time. But just go with it. Just try to I'll throw out the try. Just behave your ass. Don't speed. Don't swerve through lanes. Don't pass people when you're in the no passing zone. Don't even signal, or don't forget to signal, I should say, and blah blah blah. Just whatever it is. Make sure your tag lights on your car are working, because they'll eventually just find every single reason. Basically, this is becoming a case of profiling against storm chasers.
And if you don't want to be profiled, I think it was Vern that brought up a good point too. Another incentive to be as low profile as possible.
Yeah, go incognito. Don't sticker your vehicle to death. Don't drop the light bars. I don't know.
Hey,
Hey, I'm just saying. All right. when you have all the stickers on your car and all the logos, you're becoming an easier target for them to keep their eye on you.
That's why I don't go to Kansas. I stick to Oklahoma.
Well, there you go. I mean, that solves it too. But if you're chasing that storm out there by Alva and it crosses the state line, are you not going to go after it?
I'll walk it.
Yeah.
No, I'll turn around and go further down the dry line. That's what I'll do.
Exactly.
You're a funny guy, Adam.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick before we change the subject, I need to explain why this is a funny joke, okay? So, I'm just going to go ahead and explain my day because this is how it went for me. I targeted Northwest Oklahoma on Wednesday. I saw the dry line wasn't going to really move far from the Texas Panhandle, and the triple point was way up near, I don't remember what, it was north of Woodward. So I was like, you know what? I don't have to go all the way to freaking Medford like I had originally targeted. I'll actually stay out here. So sure enough, I sat in Sealing, Oklahoma for the good part of 2 to 3 hours, just blazing in the sun and just waiting for initiation. And sure enough, it happened just to the west of us. We watched those towers go up, and they were looking really weird. They weren't looking very strong. I think they hadn't hit the instability quite yet because they were looking kind of weak and soggy. And then on radar, there's this great-looking preset core coming out of like Shamrock, Texas. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, well, there's dry line initiation. Do I want to go? Do I want to go? Do I want to go? And for about 20 minutes, I pondered whether I should stay on that stuff or not. And finally, I was like, screw it. I'm going to kick myself in the butt if I don't do it. So I bailed south. And the thing is as that was going on, I have radar scope up. I have the spotted network icons. Throughout the entire day, you can actually see I-35 without actually seeing it on radar or seeing it on a map because it was just a line of chasers down I-35. So it kind of made me think, well, maybe they see something I don't or whatever. Well, sure enough, when those storms started firing off, that whole wave of dots started coming west. And I was just like, crap, this storm's about to get clogged up really bad out here. And so we were playing with that supercell down by Leedy or whatever on the Canadian River Valley. Looked great, supercell structure, really awesome. And about that time, I noticed all those dots are now coming south towards my storm. And I'm like, well, why didn't they stay up north? All those storms are severe warning, and there's a warm front, there's a triple point. It's just they should have just stayed up there. Well, sure enough, our storm hits some cool air, instability gets killed, storm starts dying off, and all those dots are just sitting around Sealing, just like hovering, like don't know what to do. Meanwhile, the storm up north that they bailed on is going tornado warning. I don't know. I hate to say, I don't know what you guys were thinking, but at the same time, I'm like, wow, why did you bail? Why did you bail? But I guess the thought of a dry line storm in that environment actually is a really good thought because that storm's going to be out there, clean air. It's going to have a lot of sunshine to work with. So I can understand why you bailed, but I just felt like that was like, I was just like, don't do that because you're going to regret it, especially when I noticed our storm was looking like crap.
Well, I bailed for the south one because the north storm. I was actually in Cherokee, and every time I talk, my cat decides he wants to get into the picture here. But no, I was in Cherokee, and there was a storm south of the warm front, but it was not sustaining itself, and it was not turning right. And then everything else north of the warm front or along the warm front looked very linear, and again, not sustaining itself. I figured maybe some hail, possibly a quick tornado, but I figured it'd be grungier than Alice in Chains or grungier than Seattle in 1993. So I decided to bail south. Obviously, there was a couple of limiting factors, low-level instability there, and we never really recovered from the earlier convection, and then we had Southwest 850s, which I think were kind of ingesting the storm with dry air. I think it would have overcome that, but we didn't have the instability in place because of the earlier crap.
Yeah, my reasoning wasn't much different. Ben actually called me. He bailed south on about 20 minutes before I did, and I decided to give those northern storms a little bit longer of a chance, and they would not move off the boundary. They just kept going north and north and north, and I'm like, sooner or later these things got to turn. And the whole complex just looked really messy. You kind of had 3 storms real close to each other. None of them were turning. They all just kept moving north. And that one April day last year came to mind. I think it was April 2nd, maybe. We had a similar setup where the storms just kept moving north. They never turned. They never really were able to tap the warm sector. So I was getting frustrated waiting for that to happen, getting a little impatient. Meanwhile, watching that storm to the south, and we sort of reached that now or never threshold. I'm like, well, if we're going to go to the storm, it's either now or never, because I'm going to get, if I don't do this now, it's going to get ahead of us and I have no chance to catch it. So we basically said, all right, I'm always hearing about how awesome these dryland storms are. Normally I'm a triple point guy myself. So I was like, all right, we're going to turn south or we're going to bail for it. I had May 19th, 2013 flashing in my head, Shawnee Day, where, we got some grungier storms on the Triple Point area. Saw a cool tornado, but the dryland storms further south went bonkers. So that's what was going through my head at the time. And then I get to the supercell. It looked great when we first got on it. Big spiraling updraft tower, big bowl maze on ice wall cloud. Somehow I ended up in a canyon because it's canyon country down there as well. And we got out of the canyon, crested the hill. There was a little bit of rotation. Poof. Gone just like that. I stood there with my camera in the air like, what the hell is this? And it was, died as soon as we got there. So that was a mistake.
So
And
it's Adam's fault.
it probably is, and oh well.
One of you guys was the storm killer that came south. That's what it was. And that's
But how
exactly what
frustrating was that to open up the season? And of course, the storm up north finally moves off the boundary. Everything congeals into one dominant cell, and there you go.
It was bonkers. Jeff Snyder, basically he posted that chart from like 5:30, I think it was. I don't know if you guys saw this, but this would have been a red flag if you were now casting at 5:30, which I don't think anybody really does that unless you're like not even chasing. But basically these are surface temps with surface dew points, and that supercell that storm was going into this big cold area or cooler air mass that I think killed the instability. This was because of that early stuff near Clinton that formed and moved off to the east northeast, and it just laid out some cooler air. And yeah, once that storm got right to that area, near Lady, Camargo, it just sucked in all that stable air, and it just poof, I've never seen a storm really just literally go poof completely like that storm did, but it did. And by 6 o'clock that storm was done. It was time to just we basically just bailed south on the cluster that was coming out of the Panhandle again. And here's the painful part. We were in Elk City deciding on what to eat, not even paying attention to radar, whenever I opened up radar scope just to look at the storm that was north of us, and it was tornado warning with a tornado report on the ground. We missed that storm because we were pretty much thinking the day was done, but hey, the day's never done, right?
I think that's quite a controversial tornado. I've not seen proof that would make me believe that there was a tornado.
I don't know, the inversion layer after 0Z in that area was just incredibly, big, and I didn't think anything was going to be able to punch through it. So that's why I pretty much blew everything off once the sun went down. But all right, so speaking of big setups, let's go ahead and jump to our next topic now. April 9th, the next day, was a big day for the people of Northern Illinois, parts of Iowa. Was a very big day. Just to kind of give you guys a bit of a recap, there were 9 tornado reports in Illinois, which doesn't seem like a big thing, except that one of them was a very strong EF4 that went through several towns, I believe. The tornado, let's see, I got the report right here. Tornado was rated an EF4 with estimated winds of 200 miles an hour, maximum width of 700 yards, which roughly translates to, I think, like 2/5 of a mile. 2 fatalities, 22 injuries. It was a really big tornado. There's a lot of video from that day of people that were able to get ahead of that and watch that video. Jesse, you want to kind of give us a rundown on what happened synoptically with that day and why these Illinois warm fronts can be quite a shocker to some people?
Well, you obviously got, whenever you have a warm front, you got, and this is, something that I think everybody realizes, but some people downplay them. You got a lot of streamwise vorticity, and you've got a lot of low-level shear. The key tricky thing with the Illinois setups is really a lot of times is the instability going to materialize, because so many times we see where overnight convection comes in and it ruins what could otherwise be a really good setup. More times than not, that's what happens. In this case, and I remember talking with Ben and Adam, I think Ben had posted something on Facebook about it earlier in the week, when the NAM started showing, hey, we get this deepening low pressure, we get this real sharp warm front coming up, and at that time I think it had been showing it getting into southern Wisconsin. It didn't quite get that far north. But in this situation, you have the deepening low pressure system coming out of eastern Iowa, and the winds were supposed to be more south-southeasterly than they were. But all that aside, and I think, like, Ben had talked a little bit about that the day before, they were looking more southwesterly, and that ended up mostly coming to fruition. But I put a little blurb on Storm Track too, and I did something on Facebook though on Saturday. I went back and looked at surface maps and satellite and radar, and I'm pretty sure there was an influence of an outflow boundary there too from earlier convection. You can kind of see it on satellite, and you can look at some of the surface obs. The actual warm front was up north of Rockford a little bit, and the cell developed down near Rochelle, and I talked to Gil Savensky a little bit about this too, and so there probably was the influence of an outflow boundary there too. But that having been said, yeah, you get a situation like that where there was just enough instability, lapse rates had recovered just enough, and you had that earlier convection go through that laid down a boundary. So when that stuff that came out of the Davenport area, where Adam and those guys had seen the multi-vortex earlier and some stuff fired ahead of that, it just hit that area where there was enough instability and rode that warm front, and boom, it took advantage of that vorticity and produced a pretty substantial tornado. And historically, we've seen this happen before in Illinois. There's been some other pretty substantial tornadoes. Plainfield comes to mind in 1990, and Roanoke in 2004, where you had storms that rode outflow boundaries or warm fronts and produced some pretty substantial tornadoes.
Yeah, and that day had kind of that written all over it for the longest time on the NAM, but the morning precip had a lot of people worried because there was a lot of precipitation going on in Illinois during the afternoon. And really, the only stuff that looked to fire was going to be out in Iowa. So, and that's the thing. I saw a lot of people on Storm Track posting about the day, and a lot of people busted down south along the dry line, or I guess the cold front, the advancing cold front. But, those storms down south, they did go tornado warned. There was, I think, a couple of tornado reports near Peoria. But for the most part, those storms down there didn't sustain themselves. Do you have a good explanation as to why those storms just couldn't stay alive down south?
I think it had to do personally more with the fact that that area had been a little more contaminated by earlier convection than up in the Rockford, Rochelle area, most likely. And mid-level lapse rates well south of the warm front were pretty abysmal, whereas when you got up a little bit north, there'd been a little more clearing. And it may have had something to do with the enhanced effect of the outflow boundary, too, from the earlier convection.
So, yeah, I mean, definitely one of those instances where you kind of had to watch mesoanalysis all day to make sure everything was in its place. But, congratulations to everyone that got that tornado. It's as much as you kind of hate saying congratulations on getting a killer tornado. I mean, it was still a very spectacular, very beautiful, large, violent tornado.
Does it count that I called that as a target, called Rochelle as a target 70 hours in advance?
Yeah, Ben here did call Rochelle as a target. Was it like 3 days before, right?
You need to play the lottery, man.
Yeah, something. I asked Mike Smith for a job, but he never responded.
Man, we can just they could make their own model room with just you kind of being a part of it. So, Adam, I know you chased. You didn't catch the Rochelle tornado, but you were you did get out in eastern Iowa, so tell us how that went.
Oh man, well.
Yeah, tell us how your little bird fart tornado went.
You shut your mouth over there, Mr. Nighttime Scud Tag.
Hey, my nighttime scud tornado looked better than your bird fart.
Hey, that did not. But anyways, so being tornado-less for the year, we decided, as most chasers do, to target the area of highest probability, which was surface low triple point, which all indications were that area would be somewhere in eastern Iowa. Meanwhile, that Illinois warm front's kind of lurking there, trolling like.
I was gonna say, especially after yesterday, where the triple point actually verified.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's the typical forecast that people make, and to my surprise, the initiation went up near the Iowa-Missouri border. So we backtracked to get on that storm, and we followed that storm for about 4 hours to the Iowa-Illinois border when it finally started ramping up. And the area of Iowa it tracked through is not chaser-friendly at all. Like, you would think Iowa is nice and flat and friendly, but this particular stretch of Iowa is not friendly. You've got the Des Moines River that just carves right through there. I thought I was right back in Oklahoma. Dead-end roads, smelly towns, slow-moving locals. So it was a very frustrating chase to try to keep up with this storm. We basically cat and moused it for like 4 hours, and then finally it got its act together. It hit a better environment, and we just stayed with it. I stayed in the notch. It was a very aggressive chase, and we finally caught our tornado near the town of Clinton. Got real close to it, probably 100 yards away or less. What the hell was that?
What
was that?
No whammy.
Play it again. Play it again, Ben.
Oh, I closed it already.
Oh.
That's basically how it went. So we get our tornado near Clinton, Iowa, and hey, I was happy. That was good enough for me. We just pulled an HB tornado out of our ass from up close. Very difficult intercept. It was just me. I was chasing with Alex Galton, and we happened to bump into Aaron Rigsby at the time. And as far as I know, we were the only chasers on it at that point, after having everybody else be on that storm earlier. So we were feeling pretty accomplished there. And at that time, we'd been chasing for 4 hours. My gas tank was hovering just above E. So I was like, well, it's time to fill up, or we're not going to be able to go nowhere. Found a gas station to fill up, and after meandering through Clinton for a little bit, tornado just went through the north side of town. It did do some damage. It was rated EF1. So we eventually found a gas station filled up, and we thought the day was done. So we got out, we were filling up, going over video, high-fiving, sort of ignoring the radar. And after about 15 minutes, Al takes a look at the radar, and he goes, "Hey, check out this storm." And I look, and I see this crescent-shaped storm 65 miles to my east. And I go, oh. I do one of these. I go, that is going to produce a beautiful photogenic tornado. It wasn't even a tornado warning at this point yet, but I know how to recognize that shape on radar. So we started hauling balls to the east. I opened up Facebook because I knew it was coming. Open Facebook picture.
Okay, I think we're losing Adam there.
He's breaking up bad.
You need to play that sound again, Ben.
Yeah, Adam, your thing is dying here. I need to have my sound effects on a soundboard. I'm usually better at this.
Yeah, I know that's a shame. No, we haven't. Adam, if you can still hear us, we haven't had video for a while, but your audio was okay. But now it appears your audio's gone too. So long story short, Adam was about 15 minutes, I think, behind that thing. Such a bummer. I mean, I hate to, it happens all the time. It happens every year, I think, to everybody. Oh, there you are, Adam. I think you're back.
Yeah, did it cut out again? I think I'm having some Wi-Fi issues or something. Never had problems here before, but hey, let's keep the mood going, right? So.
All right. Yeah. You missed it by that much, right? Like 15 minutes or something like that.
It feels that way, but we were actually a little further away in that. And the more I think about it, it was an hour and 10 minutes from where we were, and at most we could have caught maybe the last 10 minutes of it from a great distance. So, But, you know, what an event to miss. It's so close to home. That's the first violent class tornado to occur in the NWS Chicago warning area in 25 years, and it was a beautiful white photogenic wedge, so it stings. It sucks.
All I can say is I looked at the LOT radar, and I saw Adam's icon way behind it, and I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, because you're a dick.
Okay, Adam, just to make it hurt a little more, how far away from home was that storm or that tornado?
For me, that's about an hour. It's about an hour from home.
I'm just trying to think how far an hour is from here, and I'm thinking if I ever miss a tornado in Shamrock or whatever, yeah, I'd be pretty bummed out. So, hey, you know what? Season's young, season's early. You can always come back. You can always still make your year. So.
Yeah, I know. I'm 1 for 1 right now, so.
Yeah, I'm 1 for 3, but all right. So, probably the biggest story to come out of this day, though, besides just the tornado, is how many different amateur videos we got from that day that were really
frustrating.
Close range. I mean, yeah, frustrating because, you know, as a chaser, you want to be in that position. But I think as a chaser, you have a lot of things that go through your head. You know, you understand what you're dealing with. You understand the tornado. You understand the power and the unpredictability that it holds. So a lot of times chasers don't get as close as these, you know, dumbass amateurs that just, oh, well, man, well, the tornado's coming right at me. There it is, like, right there. I'm just going to sit here and wait for it. What? Oh, yeah, it's coming right at me. I better back up 10 feet, and we'll get to that later. But, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of video from people that were just like, I mean, there were several videos from Rochelle where people were just filming out their front doors, out their screen doors, watching this massive.
And get that money shot. They were getting that money shot.
They're getting their 15 seconds of fame. And you know what? It sucks because, you know, I think some of us in here, and I know Ben and Adam and, you know, Jesse and everybody, you guys know that a shot like that, when you license it correctly, can probably bring in a pretty penny. And it's frustrating to know that Joe Blow or his, you know, trophy wife that is sitting at home scared shitless with their iPhone is about to just give that video to the Weather Channel or CNN or just give it to them like, oh, yeah, here's this video of that day. Just, you know, put my name on the bottom or whatever. They don't care. And CNN's like, oh, you stupid moron. And, you know, they don't care, you know, and they don't know that they can make money out of that stuff. And you know, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Did any chaser at all get anything from there? I mean, I only seen.
Oh, yeah. No,
there was a couple.
Yeah, there was Base Hunters was definitely one of the big names that were on it. Brad Goddard got some great pictures. Chad Cowan got great pictures too. I don't know anyone else off the top of my head, but
Jonathan Williamson got some good stuff.
Bastard.
John Williamson.
Base Hunters would be there. It's just clockwork. Tornado, Base Hunters.
Yeah, Base Hunters is everywhere. And
a few names that piss me off, but we won't mention them for now, for the sake of politically correctness.
Yeah. By the way, real quick.
Underinflated tires is all I can say.
I have somebody up here. That's all I can say.
By the way, I'm pretty sure that after this show, Shane Adams is going to go live on his show, and I think he's going to grill Base Hunters, and so I recommend you guys watch that.
That'll be good.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. So,
I want to jump back to that people giving away video for free.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's really hard to even criticize these people that don't know better at all, considering I saw just over the weekend multiple chasers give away their pictures for free over Twitter.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw a couple, and you know, I got asked, and I politely declined and offered to license video, and they of course passed because they didn't want to pay for anything. But you know, I saw multiple chasers giving away their crap for free, and so how can we even criticize people that are not chasers for giving away their crap for free when, you know, we have a problem in our own community of people giving away crap for free?
Well, and that depends too. If you get something that's kind of half-assed or it's not really like mind-blowingly spectacular, then I can understand you're just like, whatever. I mean, it's not going to do much on the market. So, and it might, if you really get into it, you might be able to make stuff off of that. But
Well,
like
they're obviously using it to fill some sort of time slot that they're making money off of.
that's true. I mean,
Of course.
in my case, I just, this is the first year I actually did stinger work with KDR, and also, I do pictures. I did post them on Twitter, but I didn't think, well, this wasn't going to do much on Twitter, so I didn't really bother with licensing some of that stuff. But yeah, I don't know who you're talking about exactly. I'm not,
It's not you. It was some people from some other media companies, but yeah, I mean in general, it's just something I've seen a lot in chasing, and it's not it's not even limited to one media company. It's just chasers in general.
Yeah, I think it. I think some chasers just find it a hassle. Some of these guys they don't care to make the money out of it. They just want to get all these likes and retweets and whatnot from their crap. So,
Oh my God! They're like my status.
Yeah, that's pretty much. That's kind of what it's all about now. But so yeah, one of the videos that was posted and went viral rather quickly was this guy, and his name, I believe, I don't know what his name was, cause
Sam, I think.
Yeah, because the guy that posted it wasn't even the guy that shot it. But while we're and I got your video that you flipped for us, Ben, ready to go.
Yeah, and that really took off. I ended up getting let's see here, 937,000 people reached with 333,000 views on that. So it's made its rounds around the internet.
Do you guys see that picture? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna play this now. And this is just a guy that's in his truck on the interstate, and the tornado passes about 100 yards in front of him. He is under an overpass. Let's just get that clear and out of the way, because that's an issue on its own. That's some other bullshit topic in the future. But this thing goes right next to him. I mean, that's less than 100 yards right there. That's probably about 100 feet. And this was probably about peak intensity, or actually really close to it. The rotation in the storm or in the tornado was very violent. How the hell those windshield wipers didn't come off? I mean, those have got to be Bosch windshield wipers for them not to just fly off like that, obviously, right? So, yeah, the tornado passes by. He's okay. He was quiet through the entire video. If you watch the video, he's quiet. All he complains about, oh, man, it bit my mirror. That's like all he's complaining about. Oh, there we go. We're good. And, yeah, this guy just got some of the best footage. That's some of I mean, that's footage that you'd expect from Reed or Sean or, God forbid, Scott Peak, because that's what he does now. And, this guy, he says in the video, this is the first time I've ever been in a tornado. And, he drives up, and it's still probably like maybe half a mile away, maybe a little further. And he's just sitting there, and he's like, oh, yeah, it's coming right at me, and he backs up 10 feet to get under that overpass.
No idea the danger that he could possibly be in, because he doesn't, he doesn't know the direction the storm is going.
Well, he kind of nailed it. It was coming right at him because you could, there was no movement. But, man, there's so many things you could say about this video, and we could talk a lot about this video. But the biggest thing that we're hearing is obviously the safety concern. Like, this is advocating safety and whatnot. I mean, is it really, though? Because, I mean, haven't we been drilling safety into the public long enough to know better? Like, obviously there's people that it goes in one ear and out the other, doesn't really stick. But, I mean, I would think that by now, in 2015, that pretty much anyone that is pretty much an adult in this world knows what a tornado can do to a car. They should know what it can do to your life, to your property. It can completely, just kill you. And you could visually see how violent that tornado was. And, you should be able to know that this is a hazard to your personal life to see that thing crossing that close in front of you. I would at least think that in this year, in this day and age, every single adult that lives in this country, or at least every single adult that lives in the plains states between the Rockies all the way to the East Coast, I guess, knows the danger of a tornado. And so to pretty much start, bashing this guy for safety concerns, I mean, isn't that just beating a dead horse? I mean, do you guys get that same feeling, the same ideas?
There's no reason to bash the guy. He even said it himself. He didn't know what to do.
Right.
He said, "Oh, there's a tornado coming for you. I don't know what to do." He felt his best option was backing up 10 feet to get under a bridge. And again, he wasn't trying to put himself there. The bridge just happened to be there.
And he was from what, North Carolina or something? I mean,
yeah, maybe. I don't even know.
I think in the description, I think it said he was traveling. He was from North Carolina.
From North Carolina,
Yeah.
and he was traveling.
Yeah, he was going from like Indy to Minnesota, Indianapolis to Minnesota. So he was just kind of driving through, and a lot of people think that he pretty much was just in a petrified state. Your body kind of goes into this shock where you're this close to death. Death is right there in front of you, and your body just freezes, and you're just like, you don't know what to do because you think that anything you do is going to make whatever safe cocoon you're in right now worse. Like your little safety net that you're in right now, because you're not dead right now. You're not in the process of dying right now. So your body's telling you, all right, this is working so far, so let's just keep doing this until something happens, and then we'll start screaming and have no control over this. So that's what I think. I don't think this guy purposely drove. I mean, obviously, he says that in the video that he didn't do it, but I don't think that he had the intentions of driving up right to this tornado and getting perhaps the best, close range footage of the year and, surviving it. I don't think he had any of that intentions running through his head. I think you're right, Jesse. He got there, he was petrified, he was frozen, didn't know what to do, and just wrote it out. And he just happened to be lucky enough to not be killed by it. And even some people are saying he was lucky enough that he was in that underneath that bridge, because that bridge probably shielded him from some of the flying debris, which is very true. I mean, this is such a weird topic to talk about because I think it goes against everybody's grain that we've been taught, especially us as chasers. We know better, but and it's hard to get into somebody's mind without actually talking to them. But at least that's the feeling I get from them. And I'll let you guys go ahead and jump on this topic and give us your opinions on that. We'll start with you, Mike. You've been kind of quiet lately.
I mean, my whole take on this one is I think, he could have just, he filmed it. Obviously, he knew what he was trying to do. I mean, if that was me and not knowing what to do, I wouldn't think the first thing to do is I'm going to pull my camera out and drive back 10 feet and take my picture or take a video of it. I'm going to turn my happy butt around and try to get away or try to find cover, not just sit there and go, and pull up the video. I mean, if he was in a state of shock, why would he take the video out? That's my thing. If he really was in that state of shock, But no, you want to take his 15 minutes of fame. Whereas if that was me not knowing anything, I would have just put my car in reverse and backpedaled as far away as I could. I mean, or trying to find cover, get out of the line of fire, per se. But for him to physically take his phone out and sit there, I'm going to back up 10 feet, take my video of this thing, which I'm not, to me, this disconcerts anything about his state of mind. I can't see just pulling a video camera. I'm going to record this, and I'm really, really scared. Little rant for the day.
Yeah, but and one thing that really gets me about this is the video was up on YouTube or whatever, started going viral, and then I'm pretty sure he picked up a broker company, because you go back to the video now and it has, for licensing, contact this. So obviously he hooked up with the broker on the video because it was getting so big. So I'm not saying that was his intentions, but definitely after the fact, somebody probably came to his side and said, hey man, all these views that are getting on YouTube, you can turn this into money we could show this on some news networks, and every news network in the country is going to pick this up. So probably even worldwide. So you can make some money if you do this. And sure enough, he agreed to it, obviously. So anyway, Adam, we'll go ahead and jump to you. What are your thoughts on this whole ordeal?
I don't know. I'm jealous of his video, that's for sure.
Dang, you're right.
I wouldn't mind shooting that myself, but like I said, I don't think he intentionally put himself there. Now, when the video starts, I know, being an experienced chaser, that he had plenty enough time to drive away. But he obviously didn't know that. At least he claims not to. And from what I've seen in the video, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. So he backed up, thought, well, I'm in this situation, might as well film it. That's what people do these days. Everybody pulls out their cameras and films everything. Nothing goes unshot anymore. And I'll give the guy props for at least holding the damn camera steady. We're always watching these local videos, and they always cut it off right before the good stuff. So this guy actually got the shot, so props to him. So I don't know. To me, I look at that and I just go, damn, I wish I had that video. Whatever, it's his life, his right. He can do whatever the hell he wants. I'm not worried about any kind of message that it sends out. The bridge just happened to be there. I mean, it is what it is. This is what happens every time there's a tornado in a populated area. Northern Illinois is quite a populated area. You're going to have people out there with their smartphones filming shit. So this is just the latest example, and he is very lucky he did not get killed. He didn't take a direct impact. So, if the guy somehow watches this, dude, you're lucky. Dude, awesome shot.
Yeah, you know what? To be perfectly honest, I freaking love footage like that, to be honest. I love watching close range like that. I would never have the balls to do it. I would never want to do that because I know that there's definitely the risk of being killed or injured or through the roof once you get that close. So, yeah, props to you, dude. You probably got some of the best tornado footage, especially of the year already, and if not, of the last few years, because that's really, really incredible to watch. So, Jesse, how about you? What are your thoughts on this whole deal?
Mine actually mirror Adam's mostly. I mean, I give the guy the benefit of the doubt. I think he was caught in a spot. He didn't know what to do. Seems like legitimate. He's in that situation, and that's what everybody does anymore. We live in a digital era. Everybody grabs their phone and Snapchats or takes a video or something like that. I mean, he didn't do anything that I don't think a lot of people would do. To take it a little bit further, though, seems like anymore everything starts controversy. Like, at what point do we just live and let live? Does every single thing have to cause a controversy? It's almost like every storm now. There's a huge controversy over something somebody does. I mean, sometimes shit just happens, and that's all there is to it. Hey, cool video, you got lucky, you survived, and live and let live. I'm not going to berate the guy or criticize him. I don't think that he did anything terribly irresponsible. I don't think he put himself in that situation to try to sell the video. And, could we have a debate? Did he do some things maybe that weren't safe? Probably. But, yeah, at the end of the day, it happened. He was in the right spot at the right time, and I'm with Adam. I would have loved to have videos somewhat like that too, but I didn't, and I went home with less than anybody else. Life goes on.
Yeah, and you're right. Every single thing, and then, I guess I picked the right time to start a podcast because, yeah, every single thing is going to start a controversy, and not only that, but you're going to see every single angle of that controversy. And it's
every setup now. We have a controversy. There's always something.
Yeah, anytime there's tornadoes in the plains, especially like a day like April 9th, I mean, come on, a week ago we were pretty much like twiddling our thumbs and thinking, all right, well, here comes the first setup, so let's hope some good stuff. Sure enough, we're a week into it. We had two big controversy topics on the 2 days that actually produced tornadoes, during the week. So yeah, I mean, I think this is great because now I got a shitload of material from my podcast for the rest of the year, apparently. So I'm not complaining about it, but yeah, it's just every little thing sets everybody off, and I think you just have to think about where you got to kind of broaden the picture out. We kind of live in a society that really thrives on controversy, much more so than ever. So any little thing that can stir somebody up and rustle somebody's jimmies is definitely going to be brought to light in every single angle, and it'll be dissected and pretty much talked about for for a couple weeks. So yeah, Ben, let's talk about you. Let's talk to you here. What do you think about the whole thing?
Oh, controversy?
No. About this guy in Rochelle that got the tornado footage.
Oh, I think it's great. He got me 2,000 new likes on Facebook.
You're kind of banking on him.
Yeah, I'm banking on it. No, he got a great shot, and I wish I could have been the one to get that shot. I would never get that shot because as I was sitting there watching it, all I could think of is, holy shit, I would be backing up and immediately, or I probably would have actually floored it south and gone in front of the tornado and gotten on the south side. But yeah, I found it amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's great footage. I think that's the thing. There's a lot of people that are just envious of what he got, and so they're just trying to justify a reason to say, well, damn it, because you got that great footage. So, quick question from Jonathan Williamson. Yeah, he's sending us questions. He basically said, what if this was Scott Peak or just any other storm chaser? What would your reaction be, and would it be any different?
Oh yeah, there would have been tons of jealousy, and everybody would have been crucifying him.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, isn't that just
I
weird?
mean, I suppose after last dealio with the underpass and everything, and then all of a sudden you get the same video and he's under the underpass again. It's just
Oh,
come
yeah.
on. I mean, really. But I mean, Base Hunters has been doing it for a while, so
Yeah, I mean,
I've heard of him, I've heard of the team, but I'm not gonna sit here and bash the guy or rapper. He did something right, if that was him.
yeah,
He's experienced.
And those guys, they would once again be crucified because they're under an overpass. Because that's how the chasing community works. They love beating dead horses. That's for damn sure. And that would have been another one. Look, Scott Peak's under an overpass again. How dare he advocate this crap? Now everyone's going to start doing it, and we're going to have all these people killed, even though there really hasn't been people killed in an overpass in quite some time. Because every single tornado that goes anywhere near an interstate, there's people going to be under an overpass. You're not going to stop it, and for the most part, those people are alive. But
yeah, my reaction would have been the same if Scott Peak shot it versus an amateur. Damn it, that's the shot I wish I could have got.
Yeah.
It's his style. I admitted when we talked about him 2 weeks ago. I said I support their style. I like what they do. I like their video. So hey, go for it. It's free country. That's as long as he doesn't try to say, "Oops, I didn't mean to put myself there. We learned a lesson." That's the shit that annoys me. Just spare me that crap and just do what you're gonna do and be proud of it.
Yeah, I mean, if it was Scott or anyone else, if it was honestly, if it was Reed, I mean, no one would have been surprised. They would have probably crucified Reed for the underpass. The thing about it is even if that underpass wasn't there, people would still find a reason to just bash whoever shot that footage, regardless. So
Here's another good question that Tyler Hudson asked. He says, "Are you upset that amateurs got better footage, or are you upset that they are ignoring a dangerous situation?"
That's your question. I was about to touch on that, but yeah, go ahead and answer that. Yeah.
Well, I'm not upset. I'm a little envious, but it's random chance, luck of the draw. It's just the way it is. So I'm not upset. A little envious, but am I upset that they're ignoring a dangerous situation? Well, that goes. We've been touching on this for years to come. People, they don't heed watches, they don't heed warnings, and at some point, people have to take some accountability for themselves. So was it smart to do what he did? Absolutely not. Should he have been paying a better attention to the weather and the warnings? Sure. Absolutely, but in the end, it's his call. So let him do what he wants.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think too. It's one of those deals where after the fact, all you can say is, "Well, did he die? No. Well, then who cares? I mean, who cares, honestly, about what this guy did? I mean, I think that's what it is. There's a lot of jealousy that definitely plagues the chaser community, and it definitely comes out when you get stuff like this where some guy is just gonna, driving through, scared shitless, gets the best footage of the year, and suddenly everybody's hard work that they've done for the year just basically got knocked down a peg, and all they can do to make it feel better, to make that ass sting less, is to go on and just start grilling this guy. You idiot! Why would you do that? You're setting a bad example. Like, whatever. There's so many different things that they're gonna try to just grill this guy for. But are we pretty much agreeing across the board that this guy got some of the best footage ever? And whatever he wants to do, that's fine. And whatever anyone in Chasers, any Chasers wants to do, that's fine.
Yep.
Yeah. That's how I feel.
Yeah. So I mean,
And that footage right there was 8 years of John Casey was trying to get.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what every Chaser wants to get. They want to get that shot, and that guy got it. Good for him. You just pretty much lapped tons of Chasers that have been trying to do this for decades. So. Congratulations, dude. I mean, don't feel bad. Don't let anyone talk bad about you, because you're just going to get that no matter what. I mean, good job. That's all I can say. And damn it, because screw you, because damn it, that's just awesome footage. But all right. Well, I think we've touched about every hot button subject we got tonight. I was trying to look through the Q&A. You guys have anything else to add to those two subjects we talked about?
Not really, no.
Not really.
Okay.
Not much, other than I need my redemption after missing that event close to home.
God, man. Is there enough ice packs in the world to cure that burn, Adam? Because that feels like it burns really bad.
I find myself getting over it faster than I have before. It's not the first time I've missed an awesome tornado. It won't be the last. So I've actually gotten over it a lot quicker than I have before. So it's just one of those things that sucks. That happens. But, this isn't these types of setups. This has happened in Illinois before. This is June 7th, 2008, all over again. Everybody played by the book, went to Iowa. I was home, got the tornadoes in my backyard that day just by random chance. So I know how these Chasers feel who managed to catch that tornado. I've been there. June 5th, 2010 did the same thing. Everybody went to Iowa. Illinois Warmfront lights up. Here we go right again. So I think I'm going to learn from this, and I'm not going to let the fact that I'm tornadoless bait me to a more obvious target when I know that Illinois Warmfront is sitting there. Because when they go big.
Yep.
And Dan Robinson has openly told people on Storm Track, when you get these big plane setups I should say, there's usually if there's a warm front, through the Midwest, through Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, he'll skip out on that stuff over there and he'll play the local stuff. And even though that doesn't always hit, it is a great feeling to be one of the only few or one of the only Chasers on that storm. It feels so much better. So
they're tricky forecasts. They're not easy. It's a very tricky forecast, a very difficult setup to chase. So
no offense to Dan, but that sounds like an excuse to be lazy to me.
Says the guy who stayed in Oklahoma.
Hey, it's better than driving all that way and missing it by 30 miles.
Shush.
Oh man, hey Ben, you have the ultimate lazy story, dude. The Medford tornado was your ultimate lazy day, right?
Yeah, that was a pretty good lazy day. Actually, it was what people don't realize is it was actually not lazy. I was in Lubbock the night before at 10 p.m. and I texted my boss, "Hey, can I have tomorrow off?" Boss is like, "No, you better be here." So I drove home. I got home about 3:30 in the morning. Got up, went to work, and there's happened to be some convective crap there in the morning, just south of Norman, actually, outside the office window, and it got me to looking at things. And there was a nice little boundary that was lifting north. It was basically the outflow boundary or reinforced warm front, more or less, from the stuff they had up north the night before. And so I kind of watched that pretty much all day. And, I had made a joke earlier in the afternoon, 11:30 or 12 or so, about how it'd be really funny if that, blew up storms later and produced tornadoes. And sure enough, it did.
Yeah, didn't you fall asleep on the couch? Or
No,
was that a different day?
That might have been a different day. I don't know. That day I got out of work at 5, and, I hemmed and hawed, and I went and I got a car wash, and I went and sat at my house for a little while, and then about 6 I finally decided, well, why not head a little bit north, and if something happens, I'll be within striking distance. And and sure enough.
Yeah, no, I could have sworn I heard a story where you fell asleep and you woke up at 4, and then you got tornadoes at like 6 or something like that. Was that Ada?
Yeah, that was the Ada day. I had maybe a little bit too much to drink the night before, and spent the whole day hating life. And I don't remember what exactly. I got up, I took a shower, grabbed my shit, left, and filled up with gas, and I was on the road, and I went and pretty much drove right almost to a tornado in Ada.
And forgot to hit record.
And then I forgot to hit record.
Well,
That's okay. What were you doing that day, Adam?
I don't know. What the hell was I doing that day?
I don't know.
What was that?
It was a day before Joplin.
Yeah, May 21st.
Day before Joplin. So I was chasing. I think I was in southern Kansas.
Oh, well, okay.
I was out with Brad and John. I can't remember if that's May 21st.
Yeah, 2011.
Were you guys looking at some structure?
Yes, and it was very beautiful, might I add. I don't need a tornado to have a good storm chase.
Oh, man. Well, we need you guys on the show again together.
Oh, that's funny.
All right. Let's see. The top, I think you guys can see that top question there from Drew Bernardi. So think about it this way. At least you weren't shaking hands and talking to Paul Goddard just a few hours before that storm. He actually asked if I wanted to follow him north before he left out, and he says he bangs his head against the wall. How many times have you guys been influenced to go or not to go to a storm because of some other chasers?
June 5th, 2010?
Yeah, June 5th, 2010. Fucking Danny Neal.
My target, yeah, it's happened before.
Yeah, let's just not bring that up.
Jesse, has that ever happened to you?
Oh, yeah. June 5th, 2010. Yeah.
We all kind of did it to each other.
Brandon Sullivan as well.
We all kind of did it to each other that day.
Yeah. And Joe Ruckowitz was out there, too. Yeah. Man, oh, man, what a crappy day.
My target was 10 miles somewhere that Elmwood tornado touched down. And I got talked into going to Iowa. Oh,
Liowa. Let's get that name. Liowa on the map. Oh, man.
And here I thought this crazy guy named Nick Nolte that nobody had heard of at the time was just following me on a Spotter Network icon all day. Well, it turns out he saw a tornado and I didn't.
Man, so, yeah, it does happen to the best of us, Drew. And, man, it does suck. But, hey, you know what? After a while, you're just like these guys. All you can do is just laugh about it, you know? So, you kind of learn. You learn to really just follow your own forecast.
Exactly. What
you got to do. So, well, all right.
Timing is key.
That's right. So no one. Okay, so you guys pretty much talked about what you guys got on April 9th, which for a couple of you was a whole lot of nothing or a whole lot of crap. I don't know. I think me and Ben were the only ones that chased on the weekend. On Saturday, June 8th, but I wish it was
11th. 11th. April 11th.
Yeah, April 11th. I don't know why I'm way off. But yeah, we chased that massive supercell out north of Amarillo. Ben, I believe they confirmed your funnel as a tornado today.
Well, it wasn't the funnel that I saw. The funnel I saw was actually right along 136, and the tornado, I believe I looked at the coordinates, and it was actually a little bit west and northwest of where I was. It basically ended just before it got to 136, and I think it had something to do with the little cell merger. We had that little shorter storm go up, and it didn't have the deviant motion that the storm we were on, and so it slammed into that supercell right there. What is it, south of Fritch? And it seemed like some sort of a cell interaction, boundary interaction, and it seems like there was a brief tornado. Whether or not there was more tornadoes after that, I'm not really sure. There wasn't any roads really to get out there, and overall, though, it was a pretty good chase. I have to give that one a thumbs up, and I was kind of hoping my video from all those sheep getting pelted with hail and white deer would sell, but it didn't.
Well, yeah, I saw that video. That was actually kind of a funny video. Watching them run around, and they're all pissed off and just stomping around. So,
Yeah.
you did get some
Dang,
pretty
yeah.
good structure at Sunset, though. I have to admit.
Yeah, we had some decent hashtag art, and yeah, it just proves that you don't have to see a tornado. Have a good storm chase day.
That's right.
I will just show one picture I got. I've been talking with the Weather Service. I haven't heard back from them. I'm pretty sure this was a tornado. This was some rain wrap action. It was This was southeast of Fridge, southwest of Borger. This little thing right here was like an occluded wall cloud when it came out of the rain, and then eventually the rain, it kind of poked through and just kind of showed this. Looks like a good cone tornado, perhaps. This was some RFD clear slot cutting through. I really wish there were more chasers around me, believe it or not, because, or at least in different areas that were seeing the same thing, because I really like to get their confirmation. At the time, the storm was going bonkers. It was going insane at that time, so it's not hard to believe it was a tornado. It's just, you kind of want to get that confirmation from the Weather Service or whoever is out there doing surveys. But at the same time, maybe they just can't differentiate the winds from the straight line winds from the storms or RFD winds versus the tornado, especially because there's nothing out there at all for that thing to really hit. So,
Oh yeah,
we'll see
I
what
mean,
happens.
on days on days like that though, with you went out there on a whim, and a lot of chasers didn't. Maybe a few did, but just to validate yourself, that's tough to do. I mean, only you know what you saw. I mean, and that's the hardest part. That's the hardest part about chasing out in the fields like that when there's very few people out there. Is to get the verification.
Yeah, exactly. I was hoping to get some, but I don't know. May not, maybe not. So, but I am going to count it as one because it did have the looks of it. We saw it
Did
for
you hear
about
me?
2 minutes before that RFD rain just kind of slotted around it and just completely cut the storm or cut our view off. So, and I mean, I think the reason why no one was playing around where we were literally playing cat and mouse with the hail core. We would sit in one spot for about 2 minutes, and then we'd wait for the big wave of golf ball, the tennis ball size hail to come through. Then we'd go south for about 2 miles, sit and watch, and let it come by again, and kept doing that pretty much for the whole time we were chasing that storm.
Yeah, I've got some new dents, thankfully.
Right.
Yeah, I've got a pretty deep one in my C pillar on the back of my car, like where the roof kind of curves, and yeah, I put a good dent in there, so probably a good tennis ball size hail from that storm out by White Deer. So,
I am a little bit bummed. We were driving out on I-40, and there wasn't a lot of traffic, and so I was looking at things on the computer, and I looked up just in time to see I was about ready to smack a ripped up tire, and it smashed up the front of my car pretty good, actually. It ripped up the plastic underside and knocked out one of my ground effect lights, which kind of irritates me. That's what I get. That's what I get for not paying attention. Yeah, I took some damage on Saturday. Between dents and that crap.
If you were in Kansas and it happened, they probably could have cited you for distracted driving.
Well, they could have, I guess, but they would have had to catch me first.
Hashtag Kansas versus Chasers.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Well, I don't know if we got much else to talk about tonight. I think we kind of blew through those subjects pretty well. As far as the future of the season, or at least for the next week, you guys, Jesse, Ben, and Adam. I know, Adam, I saw your tweet earlier about the season looks to be hitting the snooze button again. What do you think about that? Why would you say that, Adam? Why would you completely ruin our dreams of late April?
Well, I see the Jets' dreams about that pinch of turd over the southern part of the country, and it's just going to kind of drift around there. And it looks like when it gets absorbed, we're back into an East Coast troughing type pattern, at least initially for the next 10 days or so. So things look like they're going to be a little bit quiet. You may get some marginal setups ahead of that cutoff low in the Southern Plains, maybe, but probably nothing that's going to beat me out there. So certainly for you local fellas down there, you might get some marginal play, especially on Wednesday maybe. But for as as a whole, it looks like things are going to get kind of quiet for at least the next 7 to 10 days. So that's just the way it is. We're going right back to how the year started.
Yeah, Jesse. Jesse, oh, go ahead, Mike.
I noticed something here. I mean, I'm not a meteorologist, but I've been studying the patterns of the way it's been. It seems like recently, especially once the Moore storm kicked us off with what happened up in Tulsa, then we had sort of a week and a half of a lull of a little bit of rain, nothing too major. Then bam, a week of picking up to doing something. I just see this little constant pattern going on here, on off, and what I've been looking at.
Yeah, that's kind of how the year ends up being is, usually you'll just have like a week difference between the bigger days. That's kind of a better, you kind of want to see that. But right now, we just came out of one setup. We may have this thing on Wednesday. I don't know. The moisture is going to be an issue, and some of the timing is going to be an issue. But, yeah, definitely after that, I was looking at that too, like Adam said, big East Coast trough, big West Coast ridge, kind of back to where we started in mid-March. So, Jesse, do you have anything to kind of expand on what we're looking for the future?
At some point that'll probably break down. I noticed it looked at this 12Z GFS this morning, and I also noticed the moisture's going to get pushed back. So we're just going to have to let that all recover. Maybe once that cutoff low moves out, and we get that pattern to reverse, hopefully after the 7 to 10 day time frame, I'm sure by late April, early May, fingers crossed, we'll have another setup somewhere. I don't know if it'll be a huge, trough come in, but maybe something decent.
Well, so I actually Reed came and defended his thesis today at the school of meteorology, and it had a lot to do with PDO and NPO. And weather patterns, and he seems to think that with the pattern we're seeing, we may have more of a 94 or a 95 like season, which I could go for that.
I like it. He said 95.
He says that shit every year.
Yeah, but I sat there and listened to him defend for about an hour, and what he had to say made quite a bit of sense. So.
That's actually funny that you say that because, and I'm not taking their complete word for it, but I've definitely talked to some of the Weather Service guys out here at the Weather Service in Amarillo, and they actually believe that they have this pattern that we have coming up this year is very similar to what the pattern we had in 95. And, of course, they're going to say that, with the bias of 95 being, multiple F4 tornadoes in the Panhandle and the lost F5 out there.
Kellerville.
Yeah, they're a little biased towards that because obviously that was a big active period for us. But, there's other days in there in 95 that were really big. May 4th, I think, or 5th, 95, Amarillo just about got wiped off the map. That's a tornado no one really has heard about, the fog-nado, so to speak, where the dew points were pretty much there with the temps, and you had fog and you had a wedge tornado and you couldn't see it. The only way you knew there was a tornado was debris falling from the sky and you could hear it. And of course the velocity couplet was pretty amazing. But those guys seem to think that this year has a lot of similarities to the pattern that we were in early '95. So it was interesting that Reed would go that route.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what his outcome was, but I do believe he will be Dr. Timmer here shortly. So, congrats to him. I know he's not everybody's favorite person, but that's still a pretty good accomplishment.
Yeah, that's no easy task to get your PhD. So, so hopefully we have something going. Hopefully this is just a lull, like you're saying. So, I know for all of you that are worshiping the CFS, it did show something at the end of April, so keep your fingers crossed, see if that pans out. But other than that, guys, if you got nothing else, we'll wrap the show up. Real quick, Jesse and Mike, since you guys are new to the show, I'll go ahead and get you guys to tell me your tornado predictions for the year. Mike, how many tornadoes do you think we're going to get this year?
I'm thinking 1,500. by end of the year, maybe 16 at best.
What is it? 16 or 15?
Let's go. I'm going to go low, 15.
All right, 1,500. Jesse, how many trainers do you think we're gonna have by the end of this year?
I'm going to go with 1,400.
Let's see. That is taken by James Gustina.
How about 1,450?
1450, Bob.
1401, right?
It's not taken. Yeah, 1401. Price is right, his ass. Since he ain't here. All right, 1450 is not taken. So we'll see. We'll see. It seems like everyone kind of aimed for the low, 1,000 range. Between 1,000 and 1,500 seems to be the normal. And I guess it's an average year. So hopefully we get an average year. But we'll see. I know we're still really low on the average right now, and it's going to take a couple of busy May and June outbreaks, I think, to get those numbers to where we want, to where we have them predicted here. So
That's definitely possible, too. I'm no believer that how it started so far is a predictor of how it's going to end up.
yeah,
Very
but
true.
that basically we're putting the whole workload on predictions basically on May and June alone because it looks like between now and the end of April it's going to be rather quiet. Like you said, the moisture is getting scoured into the Gulf. We don't have any immediate signs of strong moisture return or strong troughing on the West Coast. So it's going to take probably at least, like you said, 7 to 10 days before we can actually consider maybe having another good chase setup to go after. So, all right, guys. Well, let's we'll have and let you guys whore yourselves out. Let everyone know where they could find you on social media. We'll start with you, Mike. Where can everyone find you? And yeah,
You can follow me on Twitter at mtobinf5. You can go on Facebook, look up Project F5 Exploration, or you can read my latest articles on hillbillybones.org.
good deal. Jesse, where can everyone find you at?
Well, I'm on Facebook. I do have Twitter in my name, and I also have a site with Colby Martin here in Illinois, tornadogenesis.org. We have a Facebook page, and we're working on a web page, so that should be up and running full steam this season.
Good deal. Adam, how about you? I know we hear about you a lot, but let's let everyone know where you're at.
Right there at the bottom, arrowstorms.com. I've also got a Facebook page, facebook.com/tornado chasing. And you can also find me on my new project that I started, IllinoisStormChasers.com as well. So I'm kind of out there in a few different areas.
Cool, good deal, good deal. Ben, where can everyone find you, buddy?
I'm at okchaser.com, and yeah, you can pretty much get to everything from there.
okchaser.com.
Yes.
You seem to be pretty excited about that. You're kind of meh. King New, by the way, you're gonna have to fight that title over Adam because I think Adam was the king, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he's probably the king noob, but I decided to steal it from him tonight.
You gonna let him do that, Adam?
Hey, he can have it for now. He can have it for now. We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see where we end up at the end of the year.
yeah, we both have one shitty tornado this year.
Tornado. That's probably the worst part about missing that thing is I can't shove it in your face.
Oh, I would have. Yeah, I would have.
All the shit I have to endure from you and Craig about Oklahoma being awesome. I would love to throw that big white wedge in your face.
But you can't because we just asked, well, where were you?
But I can't because where was I? I was in Iowa.
That just sounds awful. You know that, right? I was just in Iowa.
It was.
Oh man. Well,
Like I said, I nothing made me happier than to see your icon nowhere near the tornado.
I know. I got an itch just thinking about it.
oh man. Well, you guys, I'm glad you guys were on the show tonight. Definitely come by and visit us again. Definitely need to get you, Adam and Ben. I need to get you guys together. It seems like y'all pretty much hit it off. Y'all are almost like married by now, aren't you guys?
Great. There are some people out there that just are going to eat that up alive.
Yeah, there really are.
Oh.
That's okay. That's okay. Adam gets to be one of my quote unquote stupid friends.
Yeah, I know. Birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, guys. Well, like I said, thank you guys for watching tonight. Depending on what happens with the weekend, which doesn't look like we got anything going on, we'll probably be back normal schedule. We hope you guys join us again. If you got any suggestions for show ideas, hit me up on Storm Track on the PM or on the Chaser chat. I'm sure I'll be in there, so you guys can just let me know what you got going on, and hopefully we get some more controversy because now we're out of topics again. No Chasers to look forward to.
I think Shane's going to be doing a show here pretty soon, and that should.
That's exactly where I'm going. I'm bouncing over there.
Let's give a shout out to that guy because I think he's definitely gave me a shout out on his show. Shane Adams has his own vlog. I really recommend everyone watch it, especially if you have, any love for the hobby, because he really speaks it like it is. And there's no filter. There's nothing there to keep him from going off the hinges. So definitely worth a shot.
Guidance suggested.
Yeah, go. Where's it at? It's on his personal page, right? Shane Adams. Where's it on?
Yeah, I don't know. There's a thread on Storm Track, Dead Chaser Society. Go look that one up, and it's got a good link to it.
Yeah, I'm sure you can go to YouTube, look up Dead Chaser Society, and go watch it. Man, it's funny. It leaves me in stitches every time. So hopefully everyone goes and watch that, and hopefully you guys have a safe week. We'll see you guys next week. Till then, y'all have a good night.
Later.